My friend's mom whispered a secret I shouldn't hear. I didn't mean to hear it. That's the part that still sits with me. It started in the most ordinary place possible, Daniel's kitchen, on a Tuesday evening that smelled like overcooked rice and detergent. I'd been there 100 times before. Same narrow hallway. Same framed photos of Daniel in school uniforms he hated. Same soft hum of the refrigerator that always sounded like it was thinking too hard. She was at the stove when I walked in. "Hi, Mrs. Ramon," I said, like I always did. She turned slightly, wooden spoon still in her hand. "You're early today." Her voice was calm, not surprised, just observant. She was 45, maybe 46. I'd never asked. She wore a loose cotton blouse, sleeves pushed up to her elbows, like she was permanently halfway through something. There was flour on one wrist. I noticed it because she brushed it off absent-mindedly, and I caught myself watching the movement longer than I should have. I told myself I was just being polite. Daniel was upstairs, yelling something about a charger. I stayed in the kitchen because it felt easier, quieter. She asked if I wanted tea. I nodded. She always remembered how I liked it. Not too sweet. That shouldn't have mattered. But it did. Still no sugar. She asked anyway, glancing at me over her shoulder. Yeah, still pretending I'm disciplined. She smiled, not a big one, just the corner of her mouth, like she was keeping something to herself. I leaned against the counter, folding and unfolding a paper napkin I'd grabbed for no reason. I don't know why I get awkward around her. She's my friend's mom. That should be the end of the sentence. But it never is. There's something about the way she listens. When you talk, she doesn't interrupt. She doesn't rush to fix it. She just looks at you like she's weighing your words carefully, like they matter more than you thought they did. I don't get that from people my age. With them, everything is fast, loud, notifications buzzing, half-typed messages that stay in drafts. I have 3 unsent texts in my phone right now. 2 apologies and 1 hey. None of them felt worth sending. She handed me the tea. Our fingers brushed for half a second. "Careful," she said softly. Yeah. I don't think she meant the tea. We stood there in that too small kitchen while the rice cooker clicked off. It was quiet in a way that wasn't uncomfortable, just present. "You've been tired lately," she said after a moment. I shrugged. "Just work." "That's not what I meant." I looked at her then. Really looked. There were faint lines near her eyes. Not from age. From squinting into sunlight. From laughing, probably. She wasn't trying to be anything. No makeup except maybe lip balm. No performance. And still, Daniel shouted again from upstairs, something crashing onto the floor. She rolled her eyes lightly. "He'll survive," she murmured. I laughed, but my chest felt tight for no clear reason. Later, when I went to the hallway bathroom to wash my hands, I heard her voice through the partially closed bedroom door down the hall. Soft. Lower than usual. "I don't know how much longer I can pretend," she whispered. There was a pause. "I think he sees me." I froze. The hallway light buzzed faintly above me. My hands were still wet. I told myself she couldn't mean me. Of course she didn't mean me. There are 1,000 he's in the world. But then her voice came again, quieter. "And I don't think I want him to stop." My chest felt like it had missed a step. I stepped back carefully, like the floor might creak and betray me. I stared at the family photo on the wall. Daniel at 13, her beside him, smiling at something outside the frame. I shouldn't have heard that. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it wasn't about me. But when I left that night, she walked me to the door. Daniel had already gone back upstairs. "Drive safe," she said. Our eyes held for just a second longer than usual. And as I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A message from her. Not Daniel. Just one line. "Did you hear anything you weren't supposed to?" I stared at her message for a long time before answering. The 3 dots never appeared. She wasn't typing. She was waiting. I could have lied. Said no. Made it simple again. Instead, I typed. "I heard something. I'm sorry." A full minute passed. Then, "Can you come back for a second? Daniel's in the shower." My hands tightened around the steering wheel before I even realized I'd turned the engine off. When I stepped back inside, the house felt different. Quieter. Like it was holding its breath. She was standing near the dining table now, arms folded loosely, not defensive, just unsure where to put them. "I didn't mean to," I said quickly. "The door was, I know." She nodded. "I wasn't careful." The word careful landed between us. We didn't sit. That would have felt too deliberate. Instead, she reached for the kettle again, even though neither of us needed more tea. I was talking to my sister, she said, her back to me. She thinks I should start living again. Living. She let out a soft breath that might have been a laugh. Dating. Going out. Not just being someone's mother. There it was. The line drawn clearly in the room. You're my son's friend. You're 23. I'm 45. None of it was said out loud, but it pressed against my ribs anyway. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, I said, and immediately felt stupid. Of course there wasn't. That wasn't the point. She turned, leaning lightly against the counter. It's strange, though. You spend so many years being responsible for everyone else that when someone looks at you like, she stopped herself. Like what? I asked, softer than I meant to. Her eyes flickered away from mine, down to her hands. She rubbed her thumb over her knuckle, a small, nervous habit I'd never noticed before. Like you're not invisible. Something in my chest shifted. I swallowed. You're not. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Real. I imagined Daniel walking in. Imagine trying to explain why his mom and I were standing too close in the kitchen at 9:47 p.m. Imagine the look on his face. The betrayal. The confusion. I took a step back instinctively. She noticed. That's what I mean, she said gently. This is exactly why I shouldn't what? She smiled, but it wasn't playful this time. It was tired. Honest. Forget it. The kettle clicked off again. Neither of us moved to pour. I got married when I was 22, she said suddenly. Your age. She looked at me then, really looked. I don't even remember deciding. It just happened. And then I was someone's wife. Someone's mother. And then I was divorced. It's strange how quickly you disappear inside roles. I didn't know what to say to that. So I told her something small instead. Sometimes I leave my TV on at night, I admitted. Not to watch. Just for the noise. She tilted her head slightly. Why? So it feels like someone's there. The words hung between us, fragile. Her expression changed, not pity, not surprise, just recognition. I didn't know that about you, she said. I don't tell people. I'm glad you told me. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. From upstairs, the shower turned off. Pipes groaned in the walls. Reality returning. She stepped closer then, just enough that I could smell her shampoo. Something clean, faintly floral. Her hand lifted, hesitated, then adjusted the collar of my shirt like it had always been slightly off. There, she murmured. Her fingers lingered half a second too long, and neither of us pretended not to notice. After that night, I told myself to relax. Act normal. Be normal. I lasted 3 days. On Friday, Daniel canceled our usual gaming night because he had a group project. I almost didn't go over. Almost. But I had left my jacket there earlier in the week. At least that's what I told myself. She opened the door before I knocked twice. You forgot something, she asked, like she'd been expecting me. Yeah, my jacket. It's on the chair. She stepped aside to let me in. The house felt smaller than usual. Or maybe I was just more aware of the walls. Daniel wasn't home yet. He said he'd be late, she added, as if reading the question in my posture. I nodded. I won't stay. But I didn't leave either. My jacket was exactly where she said it would be. Folded neatly. Too neatly. I picked it up and slung it over my shoulder, but my feet didn't move toward the door. You've been quiet in the group chat, she said casually, walking toward the kitchen. Just busy. That sound again. Like she knew better. She poured herself water, not offering me any this time. A subtle shift. A boundary. I leaned against the doorway instead of stepping in. Distance. Safe. You shouldn't have texted me that night, I said finally. She didn't turn around. I know. But you did. Yes. The faucet dripped once. Twice. Too loud. I don't want to make things weird for Daniel, I added quickly. Or for you. Her shoulders stiffened almost imperceptibly. You think I don't know that? That's not what she turned then, cutting me off with a look that wasn't anger. It was something closer to fear. You're 23, she said quietly. You have your whole life ahead of you. She exhaled. I'm in a different chapter. I hated that word. Chapter. Like she'd already decided the ending. I didn't say I wanted anything, I muttered. But you're here. That landed harder than I expected. I looked away first. From the hallway, I could see the edge of the family photos again. Daniel at different ages. Her in the background of each one. Constant. Steady. I imagined being the reason that steadiness cracked. The thought made my stomach twist. I just don't want you to regret anything, I said. She laughed softly, not amused. Regret doesn't usually ask permission. Silence again. Thick. I stepped into the kitchen this time, closing the distance I'd been pretending to protect. Close enough to see the faint scar near her wrist. Close enough to notice she'd stopped wearing her wedding ring months ago, but there was still a pale line where it used to sit. I don't think you're invisible, I said, more firmly now. And I don't think I imagined what I heard. Her breath hitched. Just slightly. You didn't, she admitted. The air shifted. Something fragile tipping forward. From outside, a car door slammed. We both flinched. Daniel. Her hand found my arm without thinking. Not pulling me closer, not pushing me away. Just holding. Warm through the thin fabric of my sleeve. For a second, everything narrowed to that touch. Her eyes dropped to my mouth. Then back up. A question. Or a warning. I could have leaned in. It would have taken nothing. Half an inch. Maybe less. Instead, she whispered, don't. But she didn't move her hand. And neither did I. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. Nothing dramatic. No storm. No music swelling in the background. Just a neighborhood park 3 streets from her house. The kind with uneven benches and a swing set that creaks even when no one's on it. Daniel had gone out with friends. She'd mentioned she needed air. I said I was heading for a walk anyway. We both knew that wasn't entirely true. We sat on the same bench, but not quite touching. A careful gap between us. The sun was lower than it should have been for 4 o'clock, casting everything in that soft gold that makes ordinary things look almost meaningful. Kids were playing somewhere behind us. A dog barked. Life going on. Normal. You didn't have to come, she said after a while. I know. She folded her hands in her lap. Unfolded them. Folded them again. I saw you yesterday, she added. Where? At the grocery store. With that girl. Oh. I blinked. Sana? She works with me. She looked comfortable with you. I let out a small breath. Not quite a laugh. We were arguing about cereal. That's not what I meant. There it was. Not jealousy exactly. Something quieter. Something sharper. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. It wasn't like that. She nodded, but her jaw tightened slightly. It should be like that. The swing behind us creaked again. Slow. Back and forth. You keep saying that, I said. Like you're trying to convince yourself. She didn't respond. For a long moment, we just watched a little boy struggle to climb the ladder to the slide. His mother stood close, not touching him, just ready. You deserve someone uncomplicated, she said finally. Someone who doesn't make you question your friend. Or yourself. I'm already questioning myself. Her head turned sharply at that. I don't know what this is, I continued, the words coming out rougher than I planned. I just know that when you look at me like I matter, it does something. And when you pull back, it does something else. She swallowed. I saw her throat move. That's exactly why this is dangerous. Is it dangerous? I asked quietly. Or just inconvenient? The question hung there. A breeze lifted a strand of her hair across her cheek. Without thinking, I reached out and brushed it back. My fingers barely touched her skin. She froze. Not pulling away. Not leaning in. Just there. You think I don't feel it? She asked, her voice almost steady. You think I don't replay that night in my head? The hallway. The message. The way you looked at me like I wasn't someone's mother for once. Her honesty hit harder than any accusation could have. I'm tired, she went on, softer now. Tired of being careful. Tired of being the adult in every room. And when I'm with you, I forget that for a second. A fragile smile. That's not fair to you. It doesn't feel unfair. It will. A group of teenagers walked past us, laughing too loudly. We both instinctively shifted apart, the space between us widening by inches. When they were gone, the silence felt exposed. I don't want to hurt Daniel, she said. I don't either. But we're already standing on something that could. I turned toward her fully now, close enough that our knees brushed. Neither of us corrected it. If I asked you to stop, she said slowly. To really stop coming over unless he's there, could you? The question wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. My heart thudded once. Hard. I opened my mouth to answer. And hesitated. She answered her own question for me. The next week, she stopped texting. Not completely. Just precisely. If I messaged about Daniel, she replied. If I sent a joke in the group chat, she reacted with a thumbs up. Neutral. Balanced. Polite. Careful. I tested it once. You okay? I typed one night around 11. No context. Just that. She saw it. Didn't answer. The next morning, she sent a message in the group chat about Daniel needing help with something technical. Nothing directed at me. I told myself she was doing the right thing. I hated how much that hurt. I stopped going over unless Daniel asked directly. Even then, I kept my distance. Sat on the floor instead of the couch. Left early. Looked at my phone more than necessary. She mirrored it perfectly. If our eyes met, she'd smile, soft, almost apologetic, then find something else to do. Wipe a clean counter. Rearrange coasters that didn't need rearranging. One Thursday evening, I showed up to return a book Daniel had lent me. He wasn't home. He had to stay late, she said from the doorway, not inviting me in. Oh, I shifted my weight. I can just give it to him tomorrow. You can leave it. Her hand brushed mine as she took the book. Professional. Brief. There was something different about her. Not colder. Just sealed. I meant what I asked you, she said quietly. About stopping. Yes. I nodded, even though my chest felt tight. Before I could say anything else, a car pulled into the driveway behind me. I turned instinctively. A man stepped out. Mid-40s. Clean shirt. Confident posture. He looked like someone who belonged in daylight. Someone uncomplicated. She noticed my expression. That's Farid, she said evenly. We've been talking. The word talking felt deliberate. Chosen. He waved when he saw her. Familiar. Oh, I managed. Emotional whiplash is subtle. It's not dramatic music or collapsing to your knees. It's your body going still while your mind races ahead without you. You said you wanted her to live again. You said she deserved uncomplicated. This is uncomplicated. Farid approached, smiling politely at me. You must be Daniel's friend. Yeah. We shook hands. His grip was steady. Certain. I've heard about you, he added casually. Something flickered in her eyes at that. A warning. A regret. I couldn't tell. I should go, I said. She nodded. Good night. Not drive safe. Not the softer tone. Just good night. I walked to my car without looking back, even though I felt her watching. Or maybe I imagined it. The engine started. The radio came on mid-sentence. I turned it off. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence. That night, I opened our chat. Typed, is he what you want? Deleted it. Typed, I hope he makes you happy. Deleted that too. Finally, I'll keep my distance. I promise. My thumb hovered over send. I imagined Daniel finding out. Imagined her choosing stability over whatever this was. Imagined myself as a phase she'd outgrow. The 3 words felt heavier than they should have. I locked my phone instead. Across town, in her driveway, I pictured an extra chair being pulled closer to the table. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't drive past her street on the way home. 2 weeks passed before I saw her alone again. Not planned. Not dramatic. Just the corner grocery store on a Tuesday evening. I was in the cereal aisle, staring at boxes I didn't even want, when I heard her voice behind me. You still pretending to be disciplined? I turned. She was holding a basket with too few items in it. Milk. Bread. Tea. No ring. No Farid. Yeah, I said. Still pretending. We stood there longer than necessary. People passed between us with carts. A child whined about chocolate. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. You look thinner, she said quietly. I've been busy. That's not what I meant. The echo of our first kitchen conversation landed between us. I exhaled. How's everything? She understood what I was really asking. It's fine, she said. Then, after a pause, he's fine. Fine. The safest word in the world. I nodded. Looked at the cereal again. Put it back. I stopped coming over, I said. I know. You asked me to. Yes. Silence. My heart was beating too loudly for such a normal place. Was that what you wanted? I asked. Her fingers tightened slightly around the basket handle. A small tell. It was what I thought was right. That's not what I asked. She closed her eyes briefly. Not dramatic. Just tired. Can we not do this here? She said softly. 10 minutes later, we were standing in her kitchen again. It felt smaller than I remembered. Or maybe we were just more aware of how close we were standing. The same counter. The same hum of the refrigerator. Daniel wasn't home. I ended things with Farid, she said before I could speak. The sentence didn't feel victorious. It felt heavy. You didn't have to do that because of me. I didn't, she replied. I ended it because I kept comparing the way I felt with him to, she trailed off. To what? To how I feel when you're in the room. There it was. Not loud. Not polished. Just true. I swallowed. That's not fair to you. She gave a faint, almost amused smile. You keep deciding what's fair for me. I'm trying not to ruin your life. And I'm trying not to live it halfway. The words settled into me slowly. I don't know what this is, she continued. I don't know if it's loneliness or timing or something reckless. I just know that when you stopped coming over, the house felt, she searched for it, quieter. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Mine too. We stood there. No music. No swelling moment. Just two people in a kitchen that had seen too many careful conversations. I can't promise this won't be complicated, she said. I know. I can't promise Daniel won't be hurt. I know. And I can't promise I won't wake up one day and realize the age difference matters more than I thought. That might happen, I admitted. Her eyes met mine fully then. No distance. No performance. But I also can't keep pretending I don't feel anything, she finished. My chest felt tight, but steady. This is me not pretending, I said. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she stepped closer. Not rushed. Not dramatic. Just enough that our hands brushed at our sides. She didn't pull away this time. Neither did I. Okay, she whispered. Not a declaration. Not a promise. Just okay. And for the first time, it felt like a choice. It didn't become a scandal. It didn't become a fairy tale either. It became something slower. Daniel found out before we told him. Not because we were careless, just because people notice when energy changes. He walked into the kitchen one evening and saw the way she handed me tea. The way I took it. The way neither of us pretended anymore. There were hard conversations. A slammed door once. A week where he barely looked at me. But time does what time always does. It sands the sharpest edges first. We didn't rush anything. I stopped coming over for a while. Not out of shame this time, but respect. When I did return, it was different. No hallway whispers. No almosts. Just honesty, even when it was uncomfortable. Months passed. The park bench became ours in a quiet way. Sunday afternoons. 4 o'clock light turning everything soft. We'd sit close now, knees touching without flinching. Sometimes we talked about practical things. Bills, Daniel's classes, my work schedule. Sometimes we didn't talk at all. Once, she brought tea in a thermos. Still no sugar, she asked, handing me a cup. Still pretending. She smiled the same small smile from that first night in the kitchen. The age difference didn't disappear. It showed up in subtle ways. Her references I didn't always understand. My restlessness when I talked about moving cities someday. But instead of pretending those gaps weren't there, we let them exist. I don't want to be the reason you shrink your life, she told me one morning at 8:47 a.m. Standing barefoot in her kitchen while I drank black coffee I was finally old enough to actually like. You're not, I said. And I meant it. Loving her didn't feel like rebellion anymore. It felt like choosing something steady. Daniel adjusted in his own way. He never fully joked about it, but one evening he tossed me a set of keys and said, "If you're staying late, at least lock up." It wasn't approval, but it wasn't rejection either. The house changed slowly. An extra mug left out overnight wasn't an accident anymore. My jacket stayed on the chair without explanation. Her laughter came easier. Less careful. We still had moments of doubt. Nights where she'd go quiet and ask, "Are you sure?" Nights where I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder what this would look like 5 years from now. But every time, we chose to stay in the room. 1 year after that grocery store conversation, we sat on the same bench where she'd once asked if I could stop coming over. "You hesitated," she said suddenly. "When? That day? When I asked if you could stop?" I smiled. "Yeah. Why?" I looked at her hands, resting loosely in her lap. The faint pale line where her ring used to be was almost gone now. Because I knew if I said yes too easily, I'd regret it for a long time. She studied me like she always had, like my words mattered. Me too, she admitted. The swings creaked behind us again. Same sound, different season. We didn't kiss. We didn't need to. She slipped her fingers into mine, warm and certain. Not reckless, not hidden, just there. It's strange how something that began with a whisper you weren't meant to hear can turn into the quietest, most deliberate choice of your life. Sometimes love isn't loud. It's the tea poured without asking. The black coffee shared at 8:47 a.m. The way someone looks at you and doesn't look away. And you don't either. Did this story stay with you? What kind of quiet, real love stories do you want to hear next?